President Trump knows an L when he sees one.
We have to stop the threat of the communist rhetoric that you're hearing right now, because these people, they don't act. I'm very happy a poll came out. It said they're highly educated, but doing very poorly. In other words, they're losers.
And Reagan seems to agree. James Carville has had enough of the crazy commies trying to burn down the party he spent a lifetime building.
These people are paternalistic, and it's a bunch of overeducated little white turds who think they know more than other people know, and they know what's wrong. They think that Lenin was a more glorious human being than Martin Luther King or Frederick Douglass. That's what they really think. And if you don't know that, you don't know your history.
Sadly, James is outnumbered. New Fox poll showing that a majority of Democrats actually have a favorable opinion of the DSA and socialism in general. Democrat kingmaker James Clyburn also fuming over the commies. He's blasting Senate candidate Abdul El-Sayed's rallies over a lack of diversity, saying, quote, "I saw a picture that concerned me coming out of Michigan. I saw the rally, didn't see a single person that looks like me. That tells me all I need to know." And Zoran the Destroyer is laughing his face red.
What we've seen over many decades is a fear-mongering in our politics, where anything that we disagree with or anything that portends significant change is described as if it is socialist, at times as if it is communist. And also, being a Muslim democratic socialist, I thought it would be pretty straightforward.
You just saw like, well, what if I label myself something that scares people the most? I'm a Muslim democratic socialist.
If you scare them twice.
And I'd like to run your public transportation system.
So the battle lines are forming, Kilmeade. You got Clyburn, you got Carville, and then the rest of the party just seems to be bowing down.
So, when Mamdani won, you looked at the stats and who voted for him, and I thought, oh, that's kind of interesting. Overeducated white people voted for him. Maybe it's just New York City, and they just said this is just one election. And then you see Nate Silver come out with his profile of who is a socialist and what are they supporting. And it's overeducated white people on the downward trend in their career. They average about $60,000 a year. They're frustrated. So rather than work twice as hard, they'd rather just subscribe to a different type of system, an economic system. What I find fascinating is that most Democrats are looking to consolidate the minority vote. You have a mayor who took out the leading Hispanic congressman in New York City, who, after he had endorsed him before. So, okay, that's interesting. And then you find out that Jim Clyburn says, I looked at that audience that shows up for his events and no one looks like me. Now, I assume he wasn't like 80, he wasn't talking about 80-year-old people. Mm-hmm. I assume he was talking about black people. So now you have the most interesting political civil war between minorities, to liberal Democrats and socialist Democrats, and the momentum and perhaps the money and maybe the political power is with the socialist Democrats. When you got AOC, you got Bernie Sanders. When you got Elizabeth Warren, you got really like the Beatles of Democrats showing up. So that's why Tuesday is going to be fascinating to see El-Sayed against a very interesting candidate. And she is an interesting presentation. And what they say is different about her is that she has the support of these horrible people called the Jewish people, who actually the AIPAC is supporting her. And they say that's her weakness. That's how upside down this world is. I hope I made the show better because Greg doesn't think I am. He was upset that I was even here, let alone contributing.
Well, your name was invoked, Gutfeld. The floor is yours.
Oh, thank you. And it is a beautiful floor, I must add. I think first you got to address the myth about the DSA and the way Stewart is presenting it. This is not about affordability. It's about ascendance. The myth is that this movement consists of blue-collar workers who just want to have more cash in their paycheck. No, the majority is elite radicals, as it always is in these movements. They're always white elites. They don't want to raise wages. They want to gain power. But the Democrats can't say that because their party is full of these elites, and they don't have as many blue-collar workers as they used to. Those blue-collar workers went to Trump. So you ask yourself, the Democrats and the socialists, how different are they? What makes them different? Because they are different. But I don't think it's about issues, because if we remember, there were a lot of Democrats saying defund the police, So it's not really about issues, it's about speed. Democrats and socialists are two cars in the same lane going in the same direction. One's just stepping on the gas. And when the DSA steps on the gas, it makes the other car look like they're following the rules, when in fact they're still going there too. They're just taking their time, and they like the fact that they look sane for once. It almost makes it look like they're sharing the common sense path with Trump, but they haven't. The other question is, how is this stuff new to people like Carville? Like, where have you been? These policies and beliefs, there's nothing novel about them. They act like this crap just showed up on their doorstep. We've been documenting this for years on this very show, Brian, unlike Fox and Friends, who have they have cooking segments.
Right. That's all we had today, 3 hours of cooking.
We've been tracing this stuff, going back to the campus teachers' lounges, to HR departments and NGOs and activist groups. We've been talking about it, and they've been sequestered in their silo, and they don't even know that this stuff existed. We're not in any silo. We're a bubble within a bubble. Like, we live in this media cultural complex, so we can't hide ourselves from the issues. We have to talk about them. I would say, better late than never, hearing Carville and others talk. But the problem is, he's kind of guilty by demonizing the people like Trump or MAGA rather than their ideas. His own party can't go near the ideas. You know, these ideas which are rooted in common sense about border, crime, trans, homelessness, government fraud, they're all sound ideas. But if Trump is evil, then how can you agree with him on Doge or trans? You know, you can't share that path because you said the guy in the path is an extremist. And what does that do? You're left at the mercy of the extremists in your own party.
Do you have any interesting car analogies like Greg, Shannon Bream?
That's not my forte.
Okay.
But I will say this growing frustration with Carville has been bubbling up over the years, because you've heard in the last couple of years saying, Democrats, you need to stop talking down to white men. You need to stop telling them no beers, no football, no ladies. You're going to eat bugs now and all this stuff. He has been warning them, don't be up on this righteous holier than thou thing. He's trying to be the old school Democrat that's bringing some reason to them. So when he's out there saying, it is not what's happening on college campuses or on TikTok that's going to be at the heart of the party, he might be missing the point, because influencers are about turnouts. And that is the deal now with Democrats. These recent elections here, where the DSA candidates did so well in New York City, according to the New York Post, only 17% of Democrats turned out. So if you don't want the change from within your party, they can retake it if you just stay at home and sit on the couch. So I think he's trying to sound the alarm, but he's been doing that, and I don't know if anyone's listening.
Does it help that when he does this, Carville appears to be relaxing in an open casket?
I'm worried if it's up for some kind of...
Can you imagine walking up at the funeral and he's trying, there he is. What are you doing here?
I think he's at a bed place, asleep.
It looks like he's got a back injury of some kind.
Maybe that's
I don't know. Maybe that's it, but he's fired up.
Jessica.
So James Carville definitely had it right with it's the economy, stupid, which is the pervasive rule when it comes to elections. But he did, for the 2024 election, he said Kamala was going to win, that she was going to rout Donald Trump. And that didn't come to fruition, right? And it was due to swing voting with young voters, men of color, especially Latino men. But he missed the mark there. And a lot of people remember that. And they're taking stock of it and saying, okay, it's a different kind of time, and the electorate might be hungry for something slightly different than what got Bill Clinton elected. You're seeing members of the DSA who are completely ignoring the flashing red lights and ones who are taking stock of it, like Francesca Hong, who's running in the Democratic gubernatorial primary for Wisconsin, for instance. She was asked about abolishing prisons, which is what Chevalier here in Harlem said was one of her policies. She was like, no, we need prisons. She was asked, what happens if you lose the primary? Will you campaign for the Democrat? She said, I will work harder than anybody else to get the Democrat elected. And that's what you have to do when you are, first of all, using our infrastructure that we've built over decades and decades. But if you want to be taken seriously as part of this movement, if the big tent is to be actualized and legitimate. AOC was interviewed this afternoon on the steps of the Capitol, and they asked about what Greg was saying. The communists, socialists. You said we've been documenting this forever, and she said, well, that's the point. They've been calling us that forever. They called Joe Biden that. They said Joe Biden was a socialist. He was the most conservative Democrat on the stage in 2020, and they used those same kind of monikers.
Well, he was a
She said
Trojan horse.
Okay. Joe Biden is not a socialist any way you cut it. It's
What about
just
the policies?
Okay. They weren't socialist policies either.
You
But the
admit, though,
point
that he was
is
a Trojan horse for radical
I don't admit it.
What is trans?
What is
I guess it's not socialist.
It's not
you're
just
right.
trans.
It's just mutilating kids, but go ahead.
You're talking to yourself.
Well, at
Okay.
least I know the answers.
Okay. Her point is that the battle lines right now, at least in these swing districts where elections are decided, like in Kate Conley's district and Bob Brooks and Bobby Polito, et cetera, are between Democrats, people running with a D next to their name, and Republicans. And you showed the initial Fox graphic with this approval of socialism, or the DSA and socialism, but not communism. But there was a lot more to that Fox poll, and it was absolutely brutal for Republicans. And that is going to be the choice in November. Democrats have 53 to 46 in counties where the presidential vote was close, so decided within 10 points. Democrats have 59-41, up on inflation and prices and the economy. Young people, old people, women, independents. The only group that Donald Trump was up with was white voters, and that was just GOP +1. That is the election that Democrats are thinking about. I understand that the Civil
Should
War
be
thing
thinking about, but they're not.
They are. No, they are, actually.
But some of these candidates, if they emerge, if El Sayed emerges, I mean, Rogers walks to that.
Well, I don't know if he walks.
Because they're not going to work together.
Donald Trump is an animating factor in an election for the people who like him and the people who hate him. That has been the case since he arrived on the Golden Staircase in 2016.
You hate every Republican.
Right.
Reagan was a divisive factor. Bush was a divisive factor. You guys made Mitt Romney into a dog beater.
Yes, I would take the binders full of women any day now over what we have. But he is that animating factor for both. So, yes, I think Mike Rogers would have an easier time with Al Sayed than with Haley Stevens. But
this is so nerdy.
You're getting in the weeds a little bit, Jessica. We do have to go, but thank you for your commentary. It was excellent. Be sure to like and subscribe for all the Fox News latest on YouTube, and catch full shows streaming now on Fox One.